I was born in the old city of Jerusalem 88 years ago.
אני נולדתי בעיר העתיקה, ברחוב השלישי מפה.
I am sixth generation in the old city of Jerusalem.
I'm the sixth generation that was born in the same house. It was in our possession for 200 years.
My grandchildren are the ninth generation in my family here in the old city. During the old time, Jerusalem was Jerusalem between the walls, the old city, and that's it.
My mother's mother, she lived right here in the Muslim quarter. There was a road with Jewish stores. My mother played here.
My ancestors immigrated in the year 1812. They buy this whole complex from the administration.
I was brought up in the old city of Jerusalem, which was a wonderful place to live in. Our house was on the border of the Muslim and Armenian quarter. And between us and the Jewish quarter, there were Arabs. My friends were Arab girls and Armenian girls and Christian girls. We had very, very good neighborly relations. For example, I remember that 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, nobody did their washing, so that it won't disturb the people going to the mosque or to the synagogue or to the church.
I remember the day after the UN famous vote, the news that we will establish Israeli state reached Eretz Israel in midnight.
Everybody in Israel was dancing in the streets, but the old city, they closed immediately all the gates, and we were besieged for 6 months. They didn't evacuate any of us, not even the children. So there were children who got killed and women got killed. My father was the chairman of the old city, and he set up a clinic that all the people in the old city, whether they were Jewish or Christians or Arabs or Armenians, got free medical treatment. We were only 3 nurses and 3 doctors on hundreds of wounded, and we had nothing to treat them with, and most of them died. I knew personally every single one of them. So it was a terrible time for me. There were 1,700 people, mainly old people, women and children, because most of the men were in the new city. The commander of the Arab Legion, Abdallah al-Tel, he saw that there were only a few young boys. He said, had he known that these were the people that held the old city, he would have come with sticks instead of tanks and cannons. When we were taken prisoners of war, both our Arab neighbors and the Armenian neighbors stood on their doorstep and cried and kept telling us, God be with you, God be with you. It was very, very touching.
כשאני יצאתי, הסתכלתי אחורנית, היה שם שער גדול, שער ציון, ואני קטן בגיל 10. אמרתי, אני עוד יבוא לפה, ואני מבטיח לך שאני אבוא. והלכתי.
We didn't manage to take anything out of the house, and the house contained treasures of 200 years.
We were robbed by the Arabs, and we became refugees. The Jordanian army took everyone as prisoners of war, and in the head of them, my grandfather, Rabbi Avraham Mordechai Weingarten. After a few months, they were released, and they were let come back to the new part of Jerusalem.
We couldn't go back to the old city. My father never allowed us to play music or to sing at home. He was always mourning the old city. He passed away before they went back to the old city. It broke his heart.
It was 1967. I was 15 years old. 3 days after this Holy Land was released, we were the first family that came back into our apartment that we lost to Jordan.
I remember that Arab who sat in their stores, he stood up, he said shalom to my father and to my mother. They felt that we came home.
mother, Mrs. Rivka Weingarten, she established the old Yishuv Court Museum in the first floor of our family building. It's a very important museum that reflects the way the Jews used to live here during the last centuries until we were forced to live in 1948. We admire the fact that we have the great privilege to live here. We know that it is a very complicated matter to live in Jerusalem that is very, very holy to the monotheistic, three religious. There is a lot of conflicts here in this place. Our mission is to try to live peacefully with everyone, with our neighbors, with every human being. But here we are, since the day of Abraham Avinu, and this is the way that this is the place that we are going to stay, I believe, forever.
The state of Israel without the holiest place is like a body without a soul. This is the soul of Am Israel. This is the neshama.
אז לכן אין מה לדבר על ירושלים. ירושלים לבד יודעת לדבר בעצמה, היא חי ומדבר.